Was Chad afraid of you guys or what? No. Huh?
No. We might not let Chad talk anyway. Ah, here comes your partner in crime.
We should be good to go now. 5:30.
Yeah, Dave's got it down to a science.
Yeah.
Nice to know if the guy was paying you by the hour.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order for the special Nisswa Planning Commission Board of Adjustment for Thursday, November 18th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Don Jacobson.
Gary Harris.
Josh Young.
Kristen Hansen.
Dave Reese.
Maggie Wentler, Brittany Connor.
Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Being none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Next item is an open forum. Is there anyone present tonight that would like to speak towards anything not on the agenda this evening? Hearing none, I'll move on to public hearings. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
We're gonna approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Not in a special meeting.
Okay,
So moved.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. All right, first item is a conditional use permit application 021-21 to construct and operate a 4,100 square foot commercial structure. The subject property is located off of Hazelwood South near Holiday. PADs 282-30504 and 282-30543. Owner applicant Dave Erlandson. If the applicant would like to come towards the desk and have a seat. And Brittany, your staff report.
You are correct. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to construct and operate a bait and tackle as well as a rental business on 4.17 acres between both lots. I will be modifying my recommendation at this time to table until the regular December 7th meeting due to late submissions that no one has had a chance to review. I honestly haven't even had a chance to look at them yet. I was printing and now here we are. So I think we need to allow time for review.
Okay. So the recommendation is to table. I think it would be wise to at least give them some feedback.
Yeah.
So at least they know and they can move forward faster.
Josh,
Yes.
you know, I don't hear so great. I'm not gonna be able to pick up different voices in that here. can I have Elizabeth
Yeah,
Erlinson?
Yeah.
we've got some of these. She's getting one.
Yes,
It's a hearing device.
sure. If
electronic.
she wants, yeah, come on up.
Is it okay if I just have her sit in for me? If there's any questions for me,
Yeah.
she can ask me,
Yeah.
or, you know.
Yeah, that's fine.
whatever.
That's fine.
It'll be fine. Thanks.
All right, I don't think I'm gonna have any, but I'll take the opportunity if anybody would like to make a public comment. Okay, hearing none, then I'll close public comments. Do we want to start with Gary and then kind of work over with questions if you
Yeah,
have
well,
any?
I went through the packet that was submitted, with the drawings that came on, in our packet last week. And looked over the whole thing and my first shot at this and after I looked at it, I like what you're doing. And I've been up in this country on Clark Lake since 1958. Now, you and I have never really been close friends, but I've been up there a lot, over the years. And I think doing what you're planning on across the highway, I think looks good to me. There's probably some problems, minor problems. There always is with development plans. But the overall picture of it, I think looks good. But having new plans as we sat down tonight and different plans than what we had, it doesn't, it's just unfair. Either pass or deny it based on what we don't know, so.
Hi, I'm Brian Callio. I'm with Woodseth Engineering and I'm the engineer on the project.
Okay,
And the plans that were sent today were more for clarification. There were a few just minor issues. We added location for a dumpster outside. We changed a note on the wastewater holding tank to ensure that we have something that's designed by others to make it be an approved design, to make sure it's the right size and everything. And we sent the landscape plan, which was something that had been requested of us, was to provide a landscape plan, which was one of the conditions in the staff recommendation that was sent out previously. And so I guess going to the staff recommendation, the recommendation was to approve in the memo with some conditions. And I feel like we're starting to work on addressing those issues that were included in the staff recommendation.
Brittany, is there something specific that was introduced here that is not in here? Based on, you gave a recommendation for approval and like you said, now it's tabled. Is it just because we have this extra information regarding plantings and landscaping and?
It's because we got new drawings from Woodseth. And from the time I received them to the time of the meeting, I didn't even have a chance to flip the page over. So I couldn't
Yep.
tell you if there's complete differences or they drew a box, to be completely honest.
Okay. Kristen, did you have anything?
I don't really, because again, we haven't been able to look at them either. They could be exactly the same. They could be slightly changed. I don't know, not to question your intentions or anything, but I wholeheartedly agree with reviewing them better. And one question that I do have is why there isn't more screening towards the water park side of it? Because you have families and things over there, and then they're going to be looking at a dumpster because you get up very high. And so just, I guess, one of my suggestions so that that's a little more screened. Yes.
There is plans for a fence between there to screen us from Holiday and the water slide there.
Perfect. And there isn't any plans for any kind of driveway between Holiday and your parking lot area?
No, no.
Okay, because I could see people going to Holiday and then wanting to go there and having to take a left on 77, which is horrible.
Nope, we want to avoid that. We don't want traffic coming back and forth through there through our property.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Dave, did you have any concerns?
No, I think one thing that I commented on was just having a holding tank has to be designed by a licensed designer. That's one of those state rules. So that was just a comment that I think probably the note was added for. So
Okay. Do you have any questions for us specifically?
So I know that the landscape designer had asked Brittany earlier what the regulations are, what we need to have there. So in that landscape plan, he had planted, I believe, tree or put on there trees that were going to be over 10 feet along that whole side there. Does it have to be? So the point of having our highway building there is to have, so people can actually see our business there, but if the screening that's required there, people won't be able to see us from the highway as they're driving up. Is there any way that we can have those trees so they're like lower or bushes, something like that, and not just fully screened all along that line there? Because
So
when you
the
look
ordinance-
at all the other businesses that are around us, that's not the case. Look at
Right.
Wendy's, Schaefer's, Holiday, they don't have that same screening.
Yeah, so the ordinance states that they have to be at least 8 feet tall. And if the parking area is in the front side facing 371, the parking area must be fully screened.
Even though the parking lot is south facing,
Right, but it runs from the highway, you see it straight on.
Are you
So
talking
it's-
about highway screening? Yeah, you know, it's only the parking lot that's screened off on your landscape plan, as I see it. There's nothing between the highway and the building.
I'm just concerned that as people are heading north, and when they look to the left, they're not going to be able to see our business there.
Is there a signage proposal for this?
Yeah.
In
Have
the
you
original
submitted
drawings, there were
something for
2, I believe.
signage?
Not at this time. We haven't worked on signage.
You know, the signage is obviously going to answer your question, I think. You own all of this property, correct?
Yeah.
What's south of the entrance drive? That's a big piece of property. You got long-term plans for that, or?
Not at this time.
But, you know, there's plenty of room in there to develop some signage that fits with the city guidelines for signage and catch people coming down here, you know, long before they get to your site, so.
I mean, based on what they had submitted, it looked like your signage is gonna be on the side of the building facing the road, isn't that right? That was kind of the idea, so you don't have to have another structure.
We've talked about like having another structure out in
Okay.
front of there also. But I just want it to be fair also that when there's other businesses around us and they don't have that type of screening, why we should have to have that same. different rule.
And who knows when those approvals came and when the ordinance was written too. So I know that when we did the storage units, that was a condition that they're still working on. So it's, we did bring that before planning commission and city council. Gosh, with COVID, I don't remember if it was this last summer or the summer before, and there wasn't any appetite for changing the screening along 371. But that's ultimately what we'd be looking for. If you didn't want to meet the ordinance, we'd have to go through the ordinance change process.
They could not request a variance.
What would be the practical difficulty though?
Well, I think what she said is if, I mean, it's highway business. And if you can't see the business, I mean, I want them to have exposure too. I mean, people should be able to see it.
And that might be something, since they have time between the next meeting, maybe we move the parking to the west and the building faces the highway, and then we don't worry about screening at all. That would be another option.
I was going to ask, could they do a redesign so that the building is more 371 facing, parking more west? I mean, didn't know if they would have time for that.
Well, it's a different kind of business too. I mean, what your example was storage buildings. Well, nobody wants to look at storage buildings. I mean, this is a highway business where they need the view. So,
Yeah, and we just can't make those discrepancies.
right.
So,
And are they entitled to have signage on the building, which is the plan, correct? On the end of the building, you're gonna have signage?
We'd like
I'm
to.
gonna say Dave Spartland or something on the end. Are they okay to have exterior peripheral signage, like over on the south of these, you know, the trees, the landscaping along the highway? Can they have both signs?
I don't know. This was the first I'm hearing about any kind of a freestanding sign, so I'd have to look at the ordinance.
Well, I'm just asking the question
Yeah.
because if, you talk about visibility on people heading north, they'd see it, you know, they'd get their attention with some, you know, a nice looking sign, right? Just south of the landscape trees there. They'd know what's there and then they can,
So they're
they'll see
allowed-
the building.
2 wall signs with 5% of one cumulative face and one freestanding sign.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's, the freestanding is 32 square feet or something like that?
Lesser than 128 square feet or 1 square foot of linear feet for the road frontage.
Pretty big sign. So,
Yeah.
so you'd be entitled to put a sign there. You own the property, you know? so.
Yeah. I would rather have them what they see as they come up the highway and see our business. We have this grand entrance plan with timbers and like just this beautiful entrance. I'd rather have them see our business in that grand entrance than an illuminated sign from the highway.
Well, you can ask for a variance of some kind on these trees down at the end. These three that you're thinking are the ones that are gonna screen you off, correct?
The
It's not
trees
the-
all along here, yeah, blocking
Wow.
us.
Those, I don't know what those are. They almost look like bushes,
Those are tall trees.
edges. Those are also 10-foot trees.
There's no heights listed.
I don't know
on
what the
these.
difference is, the significance, and the drawing, just shows 6 trees that are 4 or 5 times as big as those, so.
Yeah.
Brittany, can you, go ahead.
The larger trees shown on the landscape plan are Black Hills spruce, and then the smaller ones shown are Norway pine, Norway spruce.
So they're all pines.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think a variance is the option here, though. I think if that's the way
Okay.
we're gonna go, it should be an ordinance change request, just because I think that finding of fact would be difficult to justify a variance for screening.
okay. That'll take you till March or April, so.
And then if you look at, to rearrange the layout of the site, to move the building and turn it to face the highway, because of the 90-foot setback requirement from the 371 right away for the building, you really don't have the space available to start having your parking. You're wasting a lot of your land space on the north side of that parcel. So it really doesn't work very well on the property the way it is to turn that building and try to change the layout very much.
Kind of an overall, can you kind of give me your, what's the vision? I read through a lot of what was submitted and it said some of it was retail, some of it was going to be rental space. Can you kind of describe what the vision is?
So it's similar to how we run our business now. We don't have a lot of things that just sit outside of our business. You really won't have to worry about that. We run our rental business out of there. So people come in all throughout the summer. We rent out pontoons, boats, jet skis, so just kind of water fun toys. People come in, they check stuff out and then they take them out to the lake or we deliver them out to the lake for them. We also have our bait and tackle business portion of it. And then we're also going to be doing an addition of clothing and high-end clothing, Sims, Patagonia, North Face. So I know about a year ago, it was about every other customer that would come into our business. They're like, oh, we're so excited for you guys. We can't wait to see what you guys are doing. And now it's literally every customer. They're like, all right, when you're going to be in there, we're so excited to see you guys and what you're going to be bringing to the area.
Is that, I thought I saw on the building plan, the interior, there's a mezzanine on the north, along the north wall, is that correct? Second, kind of a balcony?
Nope, no balcony.
No, there wasn't, what
No.
did I see?
It's listed on the plans.
Yeah, I saw a mezzanine there.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just our storage
Oh.
for retail.
My next question was gonna be, that'd be, I assume that's where some of the retail, the high-end stuff would be. Somebody's physically fit enough to get up there while they buy the good stuff.
There's enough storage buildings off that corner now.
No, I just thought it might be retail space up there, so you get a overlook into the rest of the store.
That's just our own storage. And
Okay.
then to address if anyone were to have concerns about like the storage portion of our building also, we do not keep or store any of pontoons, boats, anything like that on our property. Things come in there, sit for about a day, and then we have 3 other properties off property here that we store those at.
I have about 7 things I think we should think about.
Shoot.
First one is the well. I see it as a well up there in the northwest corner. And it says well water supply by others. Can you explain by others? What, are you putting the well on your own property?
All that means is that they'd hire a licensed well driller who would determine how deep it has to go and confirm everything with the design of the well itself.
Well, it's confusing when you say by others. I thought it was Holiday putting this in for you, or using a Holiday, but I would just put in well. That's where the well is going. You're talking very briefly about outside display. On the overhang in the front of the building, you have canopies coming down, and on one of the plot plans here, it indicated that there was going to be a display area. And I was concerned about that because we don't allow outside displays. You might want to look at that, okay? 371 encroachment. There are a bunch of areas on here where I'm looking at your plot plan here, stormwater and everything else. You have approval from the state of Minnesota to get into their easement area?
There is no work that's being proposed here that's in the MinDOT right away. It's all on the property itself. All the grading and everything is shown to be on the property.
You're sure about that? Because the way I looked at it, yeah, I see that. And then there's an 80-foot setback from the property line there, the MinDOT property line?
That 90-foot
90.
setback
90
is where you can't put a building. So the building has to be outside of that setback from the right of way line. Then which sheet are you looking at to have your questions on the encroachment?
C7.01.
Looking at the storage ponds,
Yeah.
but they all appear to be on private property.
I just want to make sure that you're not going to run into trouble with the state of Minnesota when the bulldozers come around. How about the trees? Are there any trees in the MinDOT right away that you're looking at taking down?
No,
No? Sure.
absolutely, yes.
When you say absolutely, it makes me think. Okay, there's another stormwater basin A on here, very long and narrow, kind of in an unusual spot. I don't know if can you speak to that? Stormwater basin A?
That's just some that with the surface drainage on the site, we can't get it all to flow into the larger basin. So it's just a smaller, like a ditch on the side of the road to capture some from the road coming in and from a small part of the parking area, just because we can't make it all flow to the east.
The driveway, I'll call it driveway going into the property. I didn't see width on that. Did you enlighten me? What's the width of the
Driveway
proposed?
width,
Yeah,
that's on 6.01 and it shows a 24 feet width.
24 feet.
24 feet. That's just the bituminous?
Yes,
Okay. Okay. I'm jumping all over here. Part of this project is when it's done, you're going to take the two lots you have, going to reconfigure them and register them with the county. I'm wondering, each of those two lots that you're going to end up with when the project is completely done, this is for Brittany, are the size of both those lots at the end of this process going to meet the criteria for the highway business district? Are they going to be big enough?
Can you rephrase the question? I'm not sure I understand you.
It's only gonna be one piece of property.
Right now, there are two lots.
Yep.
Okay, when they're done with their project.
Yep.
There's going to be two lots.
Nope, they need to combine them before any construction will be allowed.
Right, but at the end, they're going to split it off, is my understanding, right? You're not going to split it off, you're going to end up with one large lot.
Yeah, it'll be one PID when it's done.
Because right now it's two parcels already.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to clear that up. There won't be two lots, there'll be one. One big one.
Yeah, two parcels right now, those have to be combined into one, and then it'll stay as one, you're not doing any more subdivision. Not right now, anyway. Yeah, exactly. So you're not planning on subdividing after, so it's just gonna be one lot when it's done, that's the question they're asking. Oh.
Right now it's the two lots. They're saying that we need to combine that and make it into one. And then not in the future, then plan on splitting it back.
No, I'm not worried about the future. If you want to subdivide in the future, I'm just, yeah, Warren, is there enough space to make the lots legal if there
So
are two lots?
right
legal?
now, this is lot line dividing
Oh,
into two.
yeah.
And so part of this project, as part of this project, these lots, two lots will be combined into one, and that's what it will be. It's
Right.
just one lot when this development is built.
Okay, I just want to preclude you doing anything in the future by saying if you were going to subdivide it in the future, that you didn't have enough land to do it to meet the ordinance.
If it is ever subdivided in the future, they'll need to make sure that they go
Right.
through and make sure that it does meet all the requirements of a highway business district.
Right, that's what I was worried about. I wanted to make sure.
That'll have to come back to us anyway.
Yeah, but save heartache between now and then. I couldn't find any place on the plans on the building height when completed.
I can address that. Joe Cartwright with High Tech Construction. I'm the project architect. And the building, the way the ordinance is written on a gabled roof, you go to the midpoint of the roof. And the height restriction is 25 feet and we're at 22 feet to the midpoint, to the
Okay.
highest gable.
Okay, it'd be helpful if we put the dimension on there so we could see it.
Okay.
That would be great. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't over 25 feet. The portion of the building facing Holiday Gas Station, if I look at these drawings, is pretty blank. Is that correct? Is there going to be anything back there to break up
It's,
between you and Holiday?
it's the back of the building.
Mhm.
So, you know, as it's written, it meets the ordinance. For materials, we're gonna use wood siding. So if you're asking for,
No, I wasn't. I was just wondering what it was, what you're going to do on the backside. That's all.
yeah, it's board and batten siding.
Brittany, on other business district in there, we have kind of dictated to some degree the colors that can be used. There's nothing mentioned in any of the stuff we have here. Would it be the intention of the planning commission that we'd want to look at colors? We've been saying earth tones. In other areas or not? I'm just asking the commission. You want to look at colors or not?
I mean, I personally, I don't really like to get into those kind of details because I don't really think that's any of our business.
That's what happened to Turner Towing.
That's true. I don't, can you, Brittany, you want to get into what the actual ordinance states?
So I struggle with the term earth tones because dandelions are yellow. Daisies are yellow, you know, technically Turner Towing is earth tone. So it's within your rights to request. However, I tend to agree with you, or if it's off-white or eggshell white, whatever.
Right now, it's probably gonna be something similar to either your sweater there or your vest there. And then also what you see in the cedar beams up here.
Dark. Not pink or yellow or red. Okay.
Make a note, Don's vest color is what we're gonna go with. Yes.
That earth tone.
I have
Don't
seen
lose that
blue
sweater.
soils.
I would look very closely when you come back at what the ordinance says about parking in the back and front and the screening. If you're gonna do it with signs, take a look at that. If you're not gonna do it with a sign, a standing sign, you can do it on the side of the building. But you gotta have some screening according to what the ordinance says. We've already talked about that, so. Okay.
So the only open questions so far that you had was, you're just talking about the screening here. That's kind of it. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for them?
No, not at this point.
No, not right now.
They're saying there's no surprises in these new plans, so.
Dave, did you have anything else?
Is there, what's your plans for lighting around the parking area? No exterior lighting?
Whatever's required as far as the parking lot goes. And
Okay.
then looking at just kind of like uplighting like that you see in here to help that entryway just kind of pop out there. And then also underneath the roof line there also.
Okay.
So you will need to have downcast lights. That is in our ordinance. So just so you're aware.
Okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion if you guys are still wanting some time to review the materials that were submitted. And if they have any open questions about the landscaping.
Keep things positive. I'll make a motion that we planning commission approve the conditional use permit number 021-21 for Spartland Holdings, subject to planning and engineering reviewing any of the new plans that have come in and looking at the lighting plans, and all according to the staff report and the findings of fact that are included in that.
Any conditions? To add those. Do the commissions, or the conditions still match?
Well, yeah, are we adding the condition 14 that was just given to us?
Yep, add condition 14. Sorry, add condition 14, and we can remove my note on number 11 because they addressed that, but I just want to make sure that we discussed it.
Agree.
You got all that?
Yep, I hope so.
Okay. Kristen, are you still thinking you want a second or do you want a table?
I think I'll second. The only condition, which is probably a part of our ordinance anyway, is that on the north elevation, just not having any temporary signs like sales.
Yeah.
Because that's where Holiday would be seeing this, and you sale on Patagonia, that kind of thing. But if you're gonna have a fence there anyway, or screening, doesn't make a lot of sense. But I think the conditions cover pretty much everything, and our staff did a very good job as usual in putting them together. So I second.
And for additional discussion, getting back to the screening in the parking lot, I think that's something that you're just gonna have to learn to live with, because the ordinance is specific as to what, that parking lot has to be screened off in that way. The only way that Brittany's correct, couldn't get a variance on it without changing the ordinance, and that's gonna take you 3 months or so. If they'll change it, if the council goes along with it.
Question regarding that. So can you go over exactly, so it says 10 feet. There is no stipulation on how thick or thin the trees have to be trimmed.
Yes.
They just have to meet a certain height.
No. So in your packet, I included both the ordinances. One is for commercial and one is for visual standards. And it says all commercial buildings in the central business district and the highway business district shall be landscaped according to a professional architect or commercial nursery. And then if you look at the, where's the other one here? I know I had a second one. The second one does state that all commercial buildings must be screening consists of dense evergreen plantings 8 feet or more in height, wood walls with 100% obstruction, a building wall consisting of aesthetically pleasing materials with no signage, or a chain link fence with privacy slats of earth tone colors or similar structures.
So the question I'm asking is the density.
So it says completely screened.
I understand that, but I mean, there's different definitions of what density is when you're talking about trees. And evergreens, I mean, if it's a jack pine, it grows a little bit different than a white pine. So, I mean, it's not real specific in that regard.
So that's why we have the landscaping plan. So I would say, if you guys wanted to pick one of the two that was submitted and say that is part of the approval. But I think that we can use our best judgment. You know, if we have 5-foot gaps, that's obviously not going to work. If there's a 1-foot gap, I'm not going to take issue with it.
Spruce and pine trees, they get big.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's no stopping it unless you keep cutting them off and then you end up with a square block.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's possible, but I think there could be something for them to work at, and something for us to look at would be, you look at the south end of the screening that's in the, along the parking lot there, that shows 3 trees just the way it does it, you know, on the north end of it, where it's kind of following that radius around on that curb.
Yeah.
If they were to take out, drop those 2 inside trees, the inside and the one right at the end, that would open that view up from the highway through there, and you'd still have the parking lot screen because you still got all the others.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it anyway, from a practical standpoint. Would that be something that?
I think too, if you look at the ordinance too, in both section 4.8.2. And then well, they're both 4.8.2 in here. But it's in B on those, and it says where any business or industry is adjacent to property zone residential or any use for visual standards. And so it's, the ordinance is kind of written that it needs to meet it adjacent to residential property. It doesn't say really anywhere about screening from the highway.
That's not what it reads. This is talking about different uses, but if you continue reading into the parking and loading, and then if you read E on that same, so you're right, if it were to be up against residential, but even if it's commercial to commercial, the screening requirements still stand.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I wonder if it would be easier if you're going to vote on this tonight. The item number 2 under staff recommendation says the landscaping plan must be approved by the city planner. Approve everything except the landscaping plan that you're looking at. And let Brittany and the applicants go to it as a separate, because the landscaping plan isn't going to be done and ready until spring anyway.
Well,
So
I
you've
think-
got time
yeah.
to do it right and look at the visual from the road and how many plants, and that's the landscaping plan. You can do everything else except that tonight.
Gary,
That
do you wanna-
basically was one of the conditions of the motion, that
Right.
that city planner and engineering reviews everything in detail of these plans before it happens. And
So there's no need for an amendment to your motion?
No,
As far as
no,
you can tell.
yeah,
Right.
we can- Yeah.
But I would recommend that you sit down and talk with Brittany about modifying your landscape plan, maybe to dump those 2 trees on the internal, and that would open up, because those trees are gonna get big, and you know, if they're not there, obviously, you're gonna have some vision, and then look at some kind of innovative signage right next to those signs to the south, you know, some kind of road highway sign there. That would attract people.
Okay.
She will be the one that brings a violation if there is one, so working with Brittany would be good.
Yes.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Elizabeth, what was your last name? Okay, that's what I thought, but I want it for the record.
All in the family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll enter. Yeah,
Thanks. You know, it's just a case of give and take, you know, so. What's that? That's- I stopped fishing 10 years ago, so it doesn't matter much. Price of everything is going up, Dave.
I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Was that to close the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
New business, we have the 2022 meeting schedule.
Yes, so just presenting to you our proposed schedule for the next year. We've been having numerous problems with people submitting comments the minute the meeting's starting. So I did put a deadline on there for citizen comment to be entered into record. It must be submitted Friday at 3 p.m.
What will you do with the comments if they come in after that?
They just will not be put in.
Okay.
They can still show up and present it or distribute it, but we're getting to the point where if I send you guys comments at even 9 a.m. the day of the meeting, I mean, you guys have jobs and lives and spouses and stuff, so they tend to not get the attention they need.
I realize that rules are rules, but there's times to adjust rules for certain projects, so this was one of them. But I like what you're doing, yes.
I guarantee with this, everybody's going to notice it. There is no question. Something that happens along 371,
Oh, yeah.
everybody notices it.
Yeah.
So
I
And
think
it
the
will be
biggest,
under a microscope. just
biggest
so
long-term
everyone's
concern
ready.
is what's gonna happen to all that property to the south.
Well, that's,
They seem to
well,
have
we
no
could talk
plan
about that
for
off
it.
the record. Because I've been told what's gonna happen with it.
So somebody wasn't forthright with us here.
Well, let's stay on task with what we have.
Yep.
So old business, that was new businesses meeting schedule. So we have that, everybody is fine with that,
Okay to
okay?
me.
Old business, we have none.
We should probably.
Yeah, we should approve this.
this.
For the meeting
We
schedule.
should what?
Oh,
Oh, okay. All right, well, you want a motion to approve the meeting schedule for 2022? Okay,
So moved.
seconded.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
And obviously it can change.
yes.
Yeah.
Like, I look at this July 5th and I'm like, oh, that could be questionable.
I can tell you right now, I'm not going to be here.
Yeah,
Well,
more than
should we just
likely, that's,
modify that right now then?
yeah,
instead
more
of
than likely,
waiting?
that's not a good date. but-
Okay, let's just
you know.
change it out of the gate then instead of waiting.
What day is the July 5th?
Tuesday.
That's Tuesday, okay.
So if we're.
I'm probably going to be gone any part of July, just FYI.
Okay.
We're supposed to be going to Europe. So,
Ooh,
yeah. If,
unless they shut it down again.
exactly. That's why I said supposed to be.
The 12th,
12th,
I'll still-
everyone comfortable with that?
12th,
12th instead of the 5th. Okay,
Okay, that works for me.
You both agree with that motion? Change.
yes, I agree.
Yes.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, motion carries.
Can I ask a question about old business?
Can we adjourn? Oh,
Old
old business, I'm
business?
sorry, yes.
No, I was just curious what the status is of the planning commission and members now.
Yeah.
Has the council acted on that?
They did. They just approved that this last Tuesday. So we have John Taylor, who was on planning commission for a number of years, as well as on the Lake Association for, I want to say he said 3 decades or something like that.
Gull Lake
Gull Lake.
Association?
Yep,
Yep.
Gull Lake.
Yep. And then we also have Jesse Zahn, who is, he owns a business. However, it's not in Nisswa. He's never done business in Nisswa and never plans to. So there should be no conflicts of interest.
National conductor,
Yep.
semiconductor.
And actually, we have Don to thank for him applying because he got involved after Don made the comment that younger people typically aren't getting involved in local government. And he took that as I should get involved. And so we owe Don the thanks for that one.
Thanks, Don.
Is that right?
So they're planning to start at the next
January for-
meeting.
January, right? Or-
December, they'll be here
Oh,
for
December.
December. Yep,
Okay.
and then I also will be presenting to the council in December for the council approval, Mr. Harris to do another term with us.
Oh,
Because your term is technically done in
I know,
February.
I'm a short timer. Tonight's my last meeting.
Oh, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can only leave with me attached to your ankle though.
I have, Brittany and I talked about it though, so the council just has to approve it
Yep.
or disapprove it.
I don't think you're that lucky.
Either one is fine.
I think we need to think about that long and hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll protest. No.
Yeah.
We want you here, chair.
Well, that's okay.
No,
It's okay.
you're a great asset to the commission.
All of you are, and I'm really excited that we can
I've,
get a full group.
I'm
going.
excited about getting things off my plate too, so I've managed to finally hire professional management for our townhouse association, so
Oh, good.
as of January 1st, I don't have to spend 500 hours a year on that, so.
Good. Spend some more time with the stuff you really
Spend more
like.
time with the planning commission.
Yeah. We're just gonna find me and Gary drinking coffee in the council chambers. Okay, are there any other questions, concerns?
Do we have an
comments?
administrator's report for a special meeting or do we just move past that?
We can move past that. I apologize.
Okay. I have no other questions, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?